What to do if you hate your room but have $0 to your name. Free things that you can do, not budget-friendly things, free things. I did a video like this for fashion a few months ago that was what to do when you hate all of your clothes but have $0 to your name. And I wanted to make one that has to do with home decor, and I think I actually got a few requests that I do this as well. And firstly, if you're feeling uninspired with your room in general and just don't even really know how you want it to look, I think a great way to get creatively inspired and get out of your head is to spend some time doing something creative that is actually completely unrelated to what you're focusing on right now. And this video's sponsor, Craftsy, can help you do that. Craftsy is your online resource for all things creative. I know most of you who watch my channel are interested in fashion or interior design or both, and Craftsy can help you learn how to create things with your own two hands for your room or for your outfit. They have classes in sewing, knitting, and crochet, which is great for all of you fashion lovers, plus classes in quilting and woodworking, which are awesome for the home decor enthusiasts. Their beginner quilting class is something that I'm working through right now, and I am so excited to be able to have something in my house that I have made with my own two hands and that I can pass down to family in the future. For me, I also sometimes like to separate myself from the fashion and home decor world to get recreatively inspired in other ways, and luckily Craftsy offers awesome classes in other areas as well, like baking and drawing and painting. They have a class called Handmade Sourdough from Starter to Baked Loaf, and I know for a fact at least some of you have been starting your sourdough journeys. I know I have, and Craftsy has been super helpful. The classes are all led by talented and friendly experts, and you can actually connect with fellow makers and DIY lovers to chat and ask questions and share ideas. And the awesome thing about Craftsy is that they're always adding new classes, so you won't run out of inspiration or things to learn. And right now, the first 1,000 of you to scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description will get a full year premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. This is valid for new members only, and I can't believe how good of a deal this is. Thank you so much again to Craftsy for sponsoring. I'm sure that some of you have heard the idea that writing is editing. The deletion of words and sentences is sometimes just as important as the initial writing. And the same can be said about every kind of design. The removal of things can be just as important and integral to the outcome as the introduction and addition of things. And this isn't just a minimalist ideology. You can have a totally maximalist room, and what makes it successful is that everything has a reason for being there, whether that's a functional reason or an aesthetic reason. So when we're sick of our environment and we're feeling stifled by the sameness of it, the removal of things goes a long way, and its importance cannot be underestimated. There are really three types of changes you can make to a space. You can add something, you can alter something, or you can take something away. And when you have $0 to spend, I think the easiest of those three is to take something away. So I want to talk about some options you have for that category, and then I'll give you some ideas of some alterations and additions that you might be able to make without spending any money. If you have a duvet cover that you're sick of, take it off. Live with the white duvet insert for a while. It might seem silly for someone who's passionate about home design to suggest just using an insert, but I'm very much about keeping it real, eliminating overwhelm, and not having something just because you feel like you need it. And a plain white duvet insert is not that offensive. Blank slates usually feel more comfortable than a space filled with things that don't really feel like you anymore. Next idea is to take everything off of the walls. If you have leftover spackle and paint laying around, go ahead and spackle and paint so that you're left with a totally blank slate, and then reintroduce your favorite pieces that were on your walls and choose new spots for them. Even if you end up bringing back every single thing that you originally had on your walls, but now they're just in new spaces or in new little groups and clusters, I think this will be a really satisfying change. And if you love all of them already and don't think you'll be able to find a better spot for them, then don't choose this option. But even if you think there won't be a better place for them, taking them down and actually seeing the blank slate might refresh your perspective and allow you to think of ideas that you couldn't have before. And that's kind of what this whole elimination process is about. It's not just about getting rid of things that you don't like anymore. It's also about making it easier to change your perspective and have fresh ideas than it is when you're just staring at a room that has been the same for so long. Think about this if we're using our wall hanging example. If you knew where you wanted to change where things were on your walls, how much harder would it be to do that by going to one piece, taking it down, choosing a new spot for it, hanging it there. Moving on to the next piece, taking it down, looking around, choosing a new spot for it, and hanging it there. And making your way through all of your pieces using that method. Deciding where multiple things should go is a process that kind of has to exist all at the same time. You might think you want something to go in a specific spot, and then when you move on to another piece and find a place for that, then you realize that this first piece would actually look better somewhere else. And it's really hard to do this process of deciding where everything should go when you're staring at your current wall and current layout, completely clouding your new vision. Next idea is to take out every single thing that isn't functional or redundant, meaning taking out every decor piece, taking out everything that isn't so essential. If you have, say, 2 bedside tables, but you only really need one, only leave one in. Take out everything besides like the bare functional necessities. Force yourself to rearrange those functional things that you have left in there, and then slowly reintroduce only your favorite things back in. You can always move the furniture back if no layouts seem to make better sense than your current one. I felt this way about my room in Australia when I was making it over. I thought that there was really only one wall where it made sense to have the bed, and then I moved it onto a wall that I thought could be a good, interesting change. And even right after I did that, I thought that it looked bad because I only had my bed and my dresser in there. And so things just were not looking like they were in their place. And then once I started bringing my other things back in, then the bed actually felt really grounded on that wall, and I ended up liking it so much better. The other thing you can do is a fun extreme challenge, which is taking every single thing out and remove in as if this is a new place, bringing in only the things that you really like. Don't even think about functionality besides your bed and your pillows and a blanket. Live with it for one day. Live with just the blank box of bed, pillow, blanket for one day. Live with it. And then if the next day you're like, dude, I really need my desk. I work from home. Obviously, I need a desk in here. Bring the desk in. Wait until you decidedly need something to bring it back in. And don't just prematurely assume that you're going to need something before actually running into the use case that you would need it for. If you want to be really extreme for fun, you can live like this for a little bit before even bringing back the things that are your favorites that you know you want to live with. Live a day where it is truly just a blank room of bed, pillow, blanket, just to feel like you've really just moved in and have an opportunity for a totally fresh start. Then begin to reintroduce things as you need them and as you find a good spot for them. Moving on to little changes and alterations that you can make, even if you have $0 to your name. See if you have leftover paint lying around anywhere. Did you save extra paint from when you first moved in and painted? Did the previous owner leave you extra paint? Sometimes they'll leave extra paint behind just in case of something chipping on the wall or, needing a small touch up and needing to get the color exactly right. If they have extra paint, they'll usually leave it behind. And if you don't have any paint laying around, ask friends or family if they have spare paint that they're not going to use. Like I said, a lot of times previous owners will leave paint, or, people when they move in will paint the house and then leave the spare paint in the basement or something to use at a later time if they need. But a lot of times people will have extras that they're not using. And if you find multiple different colors, if you find paint colors that aren't the color of your bedroom, maybe they're the color that the living room was or the kitchen was or something. If you find a different color, that can be a really big change that you can make to your room to make it feel like a fresh space. But even if you can only find the color that already is in your room, giving it a fresh coat of paint can make it feel cleaner and newer and fresher again in general. But B, there are also so many different things that you can do with one color of paint. You can have a room where just the walls are painted and the trim is a different color, or the trim is unpainted, or the ceiling is unpainted. You could decide to paint your ceiling to match the walls, and that gives a very different vibe. You can decide to match the trim to your walls and leave the ceiling unpainted, and that's a different vibe. Or you can choose to color drench everything, have doors, trim, ceiling, walls, all the same color. There are so many different looks that you can get with just one paint color, just by choosing areas and surfaces that aren't already painted and deciding to maybe also paint it that color. Next idea of changes and alterations you can make is to switch functional items with each other. If you have a bedside table next to your bed and a stool or a chair in the corner of your room where you toss your sweaters or bags or whatever, try switching them. Try using the stool or the chair chair as your bedside table and using the bedside table as a little corner table for, a catch-all or whatever you were using that stool for. This obviously isn't going to work with every type of chair or every type of side table. This isn't going to work in every context, but sometimes it can look really cool and it can be fun to think outside the box and use things for a purpose that they're not completely number one intended for. I am still kind of sick, so my voice is cracking, but ignore. These choices that seem unfunctional or kind of silly to you can turn out to feel off, or they can turn out to be a really cool choice that props up the character of the room, and it can make the room feel a little bit more collected and personal rather than feeling like a page out of a furniture catalog. Again, it won't always work and it won't work for everything, but just have a play around with it. This next idea is another one that relies on you having a spare something lying around, so I hope that's not too annoying, but I feel like there is a good possibility of this, so I just wanted to mention it just in case. See if you have any spare light bulbs lying around. It is so important, at least to me, to have warm bulbs in a bedroom, and switching out bulbs from cool to warm can make the room feel so different. If you have any spare light bulbs lying around in a storage room, or a friend does or a family member does, see if you can switch out the bulbs if you don't already have warm light bulbs in your room. If you don't have any spare bulbs, something you can do is see if you have warm bulbs in a different room of the house where it doesn't quite matter as much to have warm bulbs, i.e. in the kitchen where you're using like task lighting and you're doing tasks and like work in the kitchen. It's not quite as important to have super warm bulbs, whereas in your bedroom, you really do want it to feel calm and serene and have that warm tone. So if you happen to have warmer bulbs in your kitchen for whatever reason, switch them out with the bulbs in your room. I am a fan of relatively warm bulbs everywhere, but it is just something that you can have a look at if you notice that your room is feeling a little bit cold and sterile, and maybe there are other rooms in your house that don't. This also relies on kind of the math working out. They need to be the same kinds of bulbs and same number of bulbs where you can switch them out easily. And of course, you can obviously just go to the store and buy some warm light bulbs if you want to, but this is a spending $0 video. So time to be scrappy. Last change you can make for free is just to see if there are any swaps you can make with things in other rooms of your house. Is there a blanket in the living room that would look good on your bed and you can switch that out for the throw that's on your bed, put the throw on your bed in the living room? Is there a lamp in a different room that would look good in your room that you can switch out with the current lamp that you have? Blah, blah, blah. Go treasure hunting throughout your house. See if you can switch things up. Okay, finally, suggestions for when your room is feeling a little bit too empty. You want to bring in more visual interest, but you don't want to spend any money. Here are additions that you can make. Decorate with your clothes. I talked about this quite a bit in a previous video, so I'll link that for you. I think it's already out. This one does mean that you might need hooks or a clothing rack depending on how you want to do it, but I just wanted to mention this because clothing is something that you already have. And if you watch my channel, I assume that you like clothing, so considering it as functional decor is something that you might want to think about. Keeping your bags hung up on hooks or having baskets outside of your closet, baskets full of clothes, like jumpers, sweaters, whatever, having a clothing rack outside of your closet. All of these things will introduce so many new colors and textures into your material palette of your room, all while being quite functional and completely personal to you. And you can have fun with choosing what you think looks best to have out with the rest of your room. Is it your hats? Is it your bags, your jackets? Or you can curate, a clothing rack of your current favorite pieces, or even just pieces that you think look good with the rest of your room. Next idea is to just make something. It doesn't have to be as involved as, sewing curtains or making a masterpiece painting. It can be as simple as an abstract or a very simple colored pencil drawing on a piece of sketch paper that you tape up on the wall with no frame. Yes, this can look weird if the rest of your room is very traditionally decorated or is in a very polished style, but if you like the casual and personal look, this can actually be really cool. My friend Maya once had a room where she had the bed very low to the ground, a desk and a chair, a couple lamps, some books on the floor, and some drawings taped up on her walls. And it was so her, and it looked so nice. There are ways of designing a room that might not seem functional to one person, but that serves every function that another person could possibly need. Interior design is personal, and your personal bedroom is not going to be critiqued by a professional interior designer. If you want to put your bed on the floor and your books on the floor, do it. I've heard people say that having your mattress on the floor is bad because of mold and air circulation and stuff, but doing it for a few months is going to be fine. And if you end up liking how it looks and feels, you can eventually invest in a bed frame that sits very low to the ground. Again, the point of this is to get the ball rolling on changes and freshness, even during a time where you can't buy anything. And my last suggestion for an addition that you can make for $0 is to fake reupholster something using spare fabric or a blanket that you have. Noah Daniel did this in his Copenhagen apartment by folding a blanket around his headboard and by using some fabric samples to wrap around a couple throw pillows he had on the couch. And of course, the intention is to eventually make this permanent or at least semi-permanent, but even he, as a professional designer, demonstrates the importance of playing around and not feeling the need to finish everything so quickly. Just because something is done doesn't mean it's good design, and just because something is a work in progress or is temporary doesn't mean that it's bad design. You have the freedom to mess around, and if you find a solution that looks good to you and feels satisfying to you, you have the freedom to leave it there forever, whether you do a professional upholstery job or if you just slap some flush thumbtacks on the back of it. Don't put so much pressure on yourself to do everything professionally for the sake of good design. Good design is creating a space that you feel good in that works for your life, and that is all you need to worry about. I'm thinking about making kind of a part 2 or follow-up to this video where I talk about all the things that you can do to your room if you just have a $100 budget or a $500 budget or something. A somewhat modest budget, but an amount that can really open up quite a lot of possibilities just with the ability of spending a couple dollars here and a couple dollars there. So if you guys would like to see that, let me know. I did just want to keep it to literally $0 for this video, just because I don't think that people talk about free options enough. There's so much budget-friendly content out there. There's not a lot of solutions for when you have absolutely $0 to spend. So let me know if you want to see that little follow-up. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to. And with that, I'll see you guys in a few days with another one. Bye, guys.